welcome. Adrian, you want to introduce our guest?
Sure. So we have the one and only Haaheo Scanlan. She is the area director for the Hawaii PSI group, and we just want to welcome you. You've been on the radio show, and we've enjoyed, coming to the basic seminar and sending our staff to the basic seminar. We are so excited to share this with our live stream on our Friday Live. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, people might be tuning in or seeing this later and they're like, what is PSI? So why don't we just start off with that question? What is PSI, and how did you get involved?
Well, PSI is an educational course, and we have a mission statement. But I'll say that when I first heard about it in 1987, my mother called me and said, I heard about this great seminar. I think you need it. You should go. I thought, I don't know what she's talking about. Yeah. And then my husband was working with her at the time, and I get a phone call from him. And he says, your mom and I heard about this great seminar. We think you should go because you need it. And that was the end. And then he came home and he said to me, my communication is here and yours is here. And maybe if you go to this seminar, you can come up to my level of communication. Yeah. And mind you, we had been together. That's real motivating. Exactly. That's what I said. We had been together 17 years. I was pregnant with our 5th child. And I thought, if he feels like our communication is that far off, I should at least go with my mother. And then my mother said there was a money back guarantee. So I didn't know what PSI stood for. Back then it stood for people synergistically involved. I didn't know what that meant, but I trusted my mother and I was going to get my money back anyway. So I wouldn't be that put off. And what I discovered was a way to communicate, because it wasn't that my husband had a better way and there were different ways that we needed to hear information. And so by learning that first tool, that first night, I said to my mother, I am not going to be able to get my money back. Like, I got my money's worth in that one exercise in learning how to communicate with my husband after 17 years. And so we say PSI Seminars is an educational course that challenges you to explore, question, and discover your life such that you can expand your personal and professional effectiveness now. But what I believe is it is the best training in resiliency. How to be more resilient when life isn't working so perfectly.
So, Haaheo, that is quite a testimony to, the work and the training and, your involvement. You are obviously very passionate about making sure that others, get this, to have this experience. Could you share actually like the history of PSI and Hawaii? Because we have a kind of an interesting connection.
We do. PSI Seminars was started by Thomas Wilhite in 1973. And he came to Hawaii to do one of our first classes in 1973, the year I graduated from high school. So that's a long time ago. And what he discovered as he was having some of our citizens go through the class, we had some people from the House of Representatives, from the city and county, and they were sharing with him that we were having a really serious problem in the prison. And Mr. Wilhite took it upon himself and said, I will volunteer to go to the prison. This is a man from California. Actually, I think he's originally from the East Coast. I'll go to the prison and I'll do my class in the prison. And if my class is that effective, they would benefit. And so he volunteered his time and would facilitate classes in OCCC. They had such a serious problem of disruptiveness, and everything changed, including the fact that some of those prisoners that were in his class were allowed to end their sentence early because they had had such good behavior. And so he continued to do them. And some of our graduates continued to do them along with. And those prisoners, once they got out of prison and became very great citizens, would come back and volunteer their time to come to the presentations, come to the classes, and share how different it was, how their thinking had changed that got them into prison to leading a successful life with their families.
And then talk about, like entertainers say, wow, man, that was a tough crowd. That's got to be, that's literally and figuratively a tough crowd to be.
And actually what he said
this.
too to the people at the prison was, give me the leaders. And when he talked about the leaders, he was talking about the leaders who were the prisoners, who are the ones that are leading this prison into this unrest. They were having riots. And so that's who, when you say tough crowd, he took the toughest crowd in the prison.
Yeah, a lot of, how they were raised, the environment they're in. And so you're talking about the people that they're not bad people. They just have the biggest challenges out of all of society. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't be in prison. So,
and that leads into their programming, right? That programming that started when they were younger. And in the PSI Basic Seminar, we learn about that and how to navigate.
What I've learned is that a happy, satisfied client is much more powerful than the most masterful salesperson. So, Adrian, why don't we share, for us, what it's been like to be part of PSI? Because I think there are people watching this, and we really want to have an opportunity to impact them in a way that it's different, right? Because, how many times you get onto a live stream or social media and you hear almost the same things, but you're like, in your mind, you're trying to figure out what's different about this. So, Adrian, what's different about this?
Well, we've done a lot of training throughout the years. And I would say this particular training, it addresses a lot of the stuff that's more on like the personal side. And I think when your personal part of your life is in alignment and in check, then your business will also do very well, right? So because of the personal development that I've experienced, not only going through the basic, the 7 and women's leadership, but spilled over into the business side. And I'm very grateful and wanted our entire team to also have the same kind of growth so that we can have different kinds of conversations, deeper, more meaningful conversations, and better self-awareness.
Yeah. And then from my perspective as your business partner and what PSI has made a difference in our business, because I want to speak to you business owners, because we you think about it, business owners are like your family when you leave the house, right? Because you go and spend all day long with them, and so they're your work family. So I want to talk to the moms and dads out there that run businesses, and all the employees are your children. And so I want to talk to you work family leaders and say that we feel so strongly about it that we make it a requirement of all of our W-2 employees that you have to take it. We'll pay for it. We'll give them the time off. And then for our independent contractors, because we do have agents that work for us that are 1099 or independent, you can't require them to do anything. You can request, but we tell them that, part of the growth culture of our team is our theme is grow or go. So it's either you do have an option to grow, but if you don't decide not to take that option, then you'll have to be doing real estate on another team. That's how strongly we feel about it. And I will tell you that the results we've gotten from that is that people are like after, and I'll call it final circle, but I'll just leave it at that. But when we meet people immediately after this, one of the first things that they all say is, now we know why you and Adrian say the things you say. So it all makes sense. It all makes sense. It's like in our team, if you join the team that spoke Mandarin and you didn't spoke Mandarin, you would have a hard time merging in with that team and becoming a part of that team. So we don't speak Mandarin in our team, but it's almost like Mandarin in that it's an unfamiliar language. It's the language of success. And people need to know that. And we send them over to Haaheo and her organization, and they go through an intensive language training school. So talk to us. The last thing I wanted to share with people, and I shared this with another business owner just yesterday morning. I said, Adrian and I have spent probably $250,000 in personal self-development, $10,000 for a week with Tony Robbins. We've flown all the way got on an airplane, made hotel, rental car for a week, all the way on the opposite side of the United States. What was that? Palm Beach in Florida?
Yes, in Palm Beach.
And all over the United States. And the one thing I will tell you is do not discount the value of this type of training just because all you got to do is get in a car and go to a ballroom in Waikiki for a couple of days.
A lot of people do not have that option, especially on the mainland.
No.
They've got to drive or fly. Travel. Yeah. So we are so fortunate to have a team and a location here.
And a strong PSI community.
Yep. That it happens every 6 weeks.
Yeah. So speaking of the nuts and bolts, Haaheo, tell us more about this PSI thing. It sounds interesting. I want to do it. What does that entail?
Our classes are 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then you have a 1 hour appointment because so much comes up during that 3 days of the class. You have an opportunity to just speak to somebody one-on-one about what have you discovered? What do you want to do differently? We really talk about vision a lot in PSI Seminars, and having a vision, a 30-day, a 1 year, a 5-year vision. And so you get to speak to somebody one-on-one. And then we have a culmination, graduation, guest event where you can create support around you. And I think that's what's so important. And so people are able to bring their friends and their family and anybody they want to the event on Wednesday. And that is the final event of the class. And that's at 7 p.m. Wednesday, the 25th.
So Haaheo, I know that you have a couple of different options depending on the age, right? So can you talk a little bit about the kids basic versus the adult basic? How does that work?
Well, one of the things that I loved about PSI Seminars, remember I said when I went, I was pregnant with my 5th child. So I had my oldest was 12. And they said once I attended and then my husband attended, he could attend a children's class. And I thought, well, that'd be kind of nice to be on the same page with him. And yet he's doing a class for children. And so it's a 2-day class for children. And at 12 years old, my son was 6'3". And
wow.
When he went to the class, it's for children 5 to 12. And he said, Mom, this is they're too little. These are little kids. And I remember saying to him back then in 1988, you will be able to go to the adult class for free when you turn 13. So I get to save a lot of money. It's $195 for the children's class. It's $795 for the adult class. Yeah. Back then it was about $500. And so I said, you don't make that kind of money. So you need to go to the children's class for 2 days. And he got so much out of it on the second day once he let go of his resistance. And then when he turned 13, he went to the adult class for free. And go ahead.
There's a children's one also coming up.
There's a children's class on June 11th. So it's June 11th and 12th. The parents have to be graduates of PSI Seminars. And it's because we teach the children what's the best way to communicate, how to support each other. And we want to make sure that if we're saying calling somebody lazy is a vulgarity, we want to make sure that their parents aren't calling them lazy. So we would make sure that the parents have attended so that they're all using the same language together, which supports them in their growth. I remember my youngest son went when he was 5, and he set a goal to get into Kamehameha schools. He had written down his goals, and they teach them how to visualize their goals at 5 years old. And he was accepted into Kamehameha at 5 years old, and he was ecstatic.
Yeah, I think, and that's what's neat on the Wednesday or some of the BLPs. You guys get to hear some of the testimonials from people who are achieving levels of success that are right here in your community, right? Not somebody from the mainland you're never going to see again, but people that are right here in your own community. Talk about, you know, the other, you know, I know it's kind of like you don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but talk about some of the other things that people go through or the learning that they receive in this weekend course.
So some people say there's 80 tools and techniques, and some of them are very subtle, that it just seems like, oh, they're just it doesn't even make any sense. It doesn't matter. And I was on the phone with somebody just yesterday, who's calling me from Calgary in Canada, and he was having a few challenges. And I referred back to that one exercise where you just simply write your name. It's just as simple as write your name. And yet 100 people in the room can have 100 different experiences with the same exercise. And as you mentioned earlier, it's because of what's inside. You know, I remember you saying something, Attilio, about when you squeeze an orange, what comes out. Yes, it really refers to that. Yes.
Yeah.
And so we have exercises where people can they learn to visualize. We start with meditation and then visualization so that you can start to see.
Yeah, I think these are the way that I remember I listened to Tony Robbins, and he says, if you're trying to explain something to someone that they don't understand, you need to use terms that they do understand to explain the concept that you're trying to get them to understand. And I would say that for me, like PSI seminars, or what I see people go through, is that if you're watching a TV and somebody else has the controls and they just keep changing the channel, and then you get really into something and then they change the channel. Oh, wait, that's Adrian. No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, wait, that's my granddaughter.
Yeah, that's it. You know who that is. We can relate to that. And if you have the control, the remote control, you can switch around, you can stay, you can turn the TV off, you can turn the volume up. And I think that, TV is a representation of our lives. And I think most people are going through life like they feel like they have no control. When in reality, right there on the coffee table is this little square thing, and you just got to pick it up. And that's, seminar kind of opens your eyes up to it. It wasn't that the remote wasn't there. It was always there. You just weren't aware of it. And that's what, that's what I got out of my weekend, was that, we have control over what's going on in our lives more so than we think. And like you said, there's exercises that you have people go through. What else could be some things that people would have coming out of this particular weekend course?
There's definitely opportunities to meet people. One of the things that we talk about is who you surround yourself with. And just as you were saying, there's not really anything new in PSI seminars. People will have heard it in different areas, different arenas, different classes. But I believe that PSI seminars has packaged it so well that from the moment you start until the moment you end, all of it is created in such a way that you can feel transformation in 3 days in different areas. And then we have other courses. And so there's a life success course and a leadership course, so that there's movement that you can grow. And in addition to the children's basic, we also have a teen class, we're doing the first one in 2 years. This year, after COVID, we have a teen class. So Adrian, your son could go to the teen class.
Nice.
When is it?
July.
Okay.
Yeah.
So send me the info.
I will. And we're excited about that. I've sent all my children. I have 7 children, and all of them have gone through the children's class, the adult class, the teen class, and the life success course.
Well, just like anything, we like to duplicate success. So we do these at the length of a TED Talk, which is about 20 minutes, which is where we're at. And time flies when you're in the flow and in doing something you truly enjoy with people you do enjoy being around, which is Haaheo. Wrapping it up, again, we've got the website and the phone number, but we've got a class coming up, and then there's also a BLP, or just mention a couple of the things again so people can write those dates down.
On April 26th, we have a business leaders presentation at 7 o'clock at Dave & Buster's in the Paina Hale. And because Dave & Buster's general manager just attended, he said, come do a presentation here. And
Awesome.
Nice.
It's so awesome. And then our class starts May 20th to the 22nd. And I will say from the last radio that I was on, my son shared a dream of buying property on the Big Island. And you had somebody on your radio show, and I called you to say, I would want to do business with you just as you enjoy doing business with us. And so he's contacted my son, and they're going to do a site visit, which is so exciting.
Nice.
So exciting.
All righty. Well, that's how it is, right? We got to open up, send our request to the universe. All righty.
Thank you.
Last thing
Call me anytime. Thank you. Thank
There's
you.
a
Thank
number
you for
right
the
there.
opportunity.
All right. And
Aloha.
let's see here. We'll take us out with our little outro video again.